I want to start off by asking the question, which one of these Royal vacuums is older than the other? Well, that is a good question. These were both sold at the same time, roughly, from Royal. The red one on the right, the Prestige 7300, was made in 2004. The Everlast on the left, the blue and aluminum machine, was made in 2006. So, yeah, you probably weren't expecting the more antique looking of the two to be the newer vacuum. Now, if you're interested in the Royal Prestige, I have a whole nother video on that. You can go check out that retrospective review. But today we're going to focus on the Royal Everlast 8100. Okay, folks, what is a Royal Everlast 8100? And we can see on the bag it says "Built for Life," trademark. They didn't go very far with that trademark. So who is Royal? Well, Royal was an American vacuum manufacturer who in the early 2000s made some really bad decisions and went out of business. Then they were bought by a Chinese company called TTI, who owns Ryobi Power Tools. Then they later bought Hoover and Oric and saved those brands. So TTI is responsible for those brands not being completely gone, but they did try to save Royal. And Royal was already partially destroyed by the Royal Company, unfortunately. And at this point, they were just trying to figure out what to do. So they made this. And this is, again, a 2006. And this machine is mostly made in China. The quality of this is not like that machine I did a video on in the 80s, or a retrospective review on an older Royal. This quality is just, you can just tell it's different, but it's also very the same. There's a lot of interchangeable parts. They would also experiment with the motors. I'm sure somebody who's more of a Royal fanatic can attest to that. There's like 5 different motors they shoved in these things. And after TTI bought them, each one of them sounds worse than the next. So stay tuned. Later in this video, we'll do a sound test. You'll actually get to hear the real sound of this machine. So this is a machine that wasn't for the commercial market, though they did make a commercial version that later they had to liquidate through Big Lots. This was sold at vacuum stores mostly, and again, by this time, we already had bypass machines, belts were starting to go away, Dyson was on the US market. There were a lot of changes happening in the vacuum industry, and this particular product to me just didn't make sense at the time, and they actually continued making this for a very long time after. It was, I want to say, 2013, 2014 by the time they actually discontinued the metal uprights made in China. In the last run of them, they had a headlight on some, but not on others. Yeah, you will see on this one, the Adjusto-Right is gone. Let's go into kind of its quirks and features. There is a rubber cover, and you can get to the belt, and that's it. And this has an aluminum fan, and all of these would have an aluminum fan, which is kind of the Achilles heel of the machine. It's putting all the debris through there, and aluminum is just a very soft metal. A polymer fan being flexible and being able to absorb a little bit of the brunt is probably going to be better, and that's why you saw polymer fans just take over bypass machines. Now, this still retains the Bakelite style of skate wheels. These have a nice rubber on them. I think this is probably plastic by now, but it's got rubber on them, and they move. It helps the machine glide very easily. The machine is in if we look at the footprint of the machine, we can see that there is like a triangle shape going on. That kind of allowed it to move. And keep in mind, this is the company whose most successful product was Dirt Devil. So they were, kind of struggling. From the 90s is when the struggles really started, but by this time, the struggles had already consumed the company. There are no accessories for this. By this time, they were not sold with the plug-in accessories. You were either buying a hand vac, or they had a Mighty Mite shaped object that took a Dirt Devil F bag that was sold with the Royal name on it, that often was sold with this. And a little bit later, we'd see the Lexan canisters, but this is kind of pre-Lexan canister. Now, retained from the legacy model, we still have my favorite switch. Absolutely love the tactile feeling and sound of this dip switch. It's very pleasing. You have this cast aluminum. Maybe it's a different type of model. They don't rust, so who knows what metal this is going on at this point of this machine. But this cast cord hook here, and then, it's got the quick release, which is great. And you'll notice that the cord on this feels kind of cheap. It kind of looks like a Bissell steamer cord. I'm pretty sure this is the same OEM who made the Bissell steamer cords, and it's prong. And the reason for this being 3-prong has to do with them trying to get UL certifications. They really were struggling with that for a while on some of their products. We saw some of their machines, like the PowerCast, have that big GFI. Another video you guys might watch. I'm really trying not to do self-promotion here, but there are a lot of strange old Royals. The cord on this one's maybe 30 feet. It's kind of short for what it is. Let's go down to the handle release. The handle fork was one of the known failure points. Again, at this point, whatever kind of metal they're making these out of, it's cast weird. It's really a weird thing. So the handle release, you would think you'd just be able to do that like a Kirby. So you have to hit the handle release, and then that's it. That's all you can do. This will allow you to pick it up over an area rug was the idea. And then if you hit it again, it will lock in the down position. Again, it seems kind of ass backwards. So yeah, you could get under something, or if you wanted to be one of those people who store their vacuum like this, I suppose. Again, very strange things going on here. We will do that. Needless to say, customers broke these. I used to work at a store that sold a lot of Royals at one time, and I will say these handle forks are constantly breaking. Now, the other thing that has gone on is there's no outside access to the carbon brushes at this point. There's also a little patch in here to get to the motor wiring. Yeah, you can see in here just Chinese motor and how this set, and it doesn't inspire confidence when you take the aluminum casings off this machine. The gaskets are also like non-existent, and the machine is cooling itself just through the vents on here, so they get very dirty inside and do need to be constantly blown out with compressed air or cleaned. Next, let's talk about another thing that would wear out. The carpet height adjustment on this. Oh my gosh. They went away from the knob. Now, the commercial variants you would often see with the knob still, but they went to this, which is quick and easy to use, and makes like some very audible, nice, affirming clicks. Again, at this point, whatever metal they're making these out of, this is a very soft metal. So it's not uncommon to see these things bent or actually worn out where there are nubs in the middle, because we have two different types of metals that go in. Now, I want to point out something about the Royal. Again, this is 2006. A Kirby Tradition had a whole bunch of safeties built on it, and those machines were built in the 70s. These have no safeties on them. So you can take the bag off and stick your finger in the impeller. You can stick your finger in the brush roller. You can stick your finger in the impeller through the front hole. I don't understand why there's no safety switches on this if you're going to have this stuff here. And I wonder if anybody actually got hurt, or any kids actually got hurt from this. It is just a concern of mine. Let's talk about the bottom of this. So we have made in China, and then we have Royal Appliance out of Ohio, which is odd because they later went to North Carolina. We can see F06A, that's the first quarter. So in this particular model was 136 off the assembly line in plant R. You can see, again, the metallurgy. You notice there's like copper in the base plate. This should be steel with chrome on it. There should be no copper in this. Again, metallurgy was very questionable. We also saw caution, and the way that these brush rollers worked, I'm not even sure it's going to be visible on camera. This is barely visible in person. There's an arrow here, there's an arrow here, and that's how you knew which side was which. And customers were always having problems putting these brush rollers on. It was a problem. The base plate just pops off like that. You get to the brush roller. Now this one has the stiffeners. That was one of the newer features, that the brushes actually had these bits of plastic that stiffened up the bristles. And when we do the pickup test part, you're going to see that this thing vibrates the carpet quite aggressively. I really wonder how good this was for your carpet, or if it prematurely could wear carpets. And kind of a fun fact about both of these Royals is this has a exhaust HEPA filter, plus can use a HEPA bag, where this just has the HEPA bag. And of course, there is absolutely no filtration on the cooling of the motor. And those who are astute may have noticed I have the wrong bag in there. I am trying some Nilfist bags that are very similar to the Royal B bag, but they do make a Royal B HEPA bag. I will put a link below in the description box if this is made. There's also a whole bunch of other good stuff in there. Go follow us on Twitter or X and all of our other social media platforms. The Royal B bags were available in the synthetic cloth like I have here. They're also available in a 1-layer paper or a 2-layer HEPA bag that was paper as well, that's yellow in color. So all those are the correct bags. However, you always want to use HEPA whenever possible, not only for your lungs, but it helps the machine breathe better. All right, you're gonna have to excuse the high noise floor where we're filming today. But I've thrown just some fine sand down on the floor. You're gonna hear the real sound of this Royal humming to life. And I want you to just notice how aggressive the brush is on here. That is really aggressive, and you can feel the machine through my shoes, in my toes, as I'm running the darn machine. So one of the selling points of this machine was its edge cleaning. So I just want to again demonstrate that with the sand and how that cleans. It does edge clean very well. Alright, we're using the studio microphone, so you can hear the real sound of the machine running. We're going to do a standard pickup test. We got breakfast cereal, fine sand, cat litter, and some recycled dog hair. Let's see how that does. So, as you can see, the vibration in that brush roller is super aggressive. It's actually vibrated some things like this cat litter on top of the vacuum. And one thing that happens with these is because of these cooling holes and that vibration, a lot of dust gets kicked up, doesn't actually get sucked up in here, and ends up right here or blown around the room. Now, as I picked that up, a piece of cat litter fell out and some breakfast cereal. And that is a thing with these direct air machines. It's not quite as bad as like a Kirby. It's a little bit more aerodynamic in here, but that is a problem. So let's see how it did on the stuff. We can see a little bit of fine sand here, but really, it did really good on that. So no cat litter, no pet hair. So carpet pickup is really, really good on this machine, despite it, being a direct air machine. These to me always felt like they had a little bit more oomph than like a Kirby. They're kind of on a level of something like a Sanitaire or something like that. Using this today, I have just forgotten how much vibration this has. It has way too much vibration. This cannot be great for my carpet here. It's just beating the hell out of it, and I think those brush stiffeners are just, again, a way of making a beater bar without making a beater bar. Well, if vacuum lines are your thing, this vacuum is probably for you. I want to give a big shout out to Mrs. P, who is a customer of ours who decided to donate this machine to us. So I really appreciate that, to have the opportunity to take a look at this and just how cool this is. So big shout out to Mrs. P for donating this. Yeah, it's a Royal. Again, I've fixed a lot of these over the years. I don't have a special place in my heart for this, but I appreciate it and I'm glad to have it. It's not something, again, that I like the sound or the feel of, but it is an important part, I think, of vacuum cleaner history, as it is one of the machines that really killed off this brand, and their refusal to actually do proper research and development into modern machines. As we close up, I want to leave you with this. Oldest machine in this video right now is the SIBO that was made in 2001. The red Royal was not made by Royal, it was made by a company out of China. The blue Everlast 8100 is the newest vacuum here, and objectively, why would you have picked it in the time over the other options? Again, these are just happen to be things from the same time period I personally have laying around. They are all made within about 5 years of each other. So yeah, if you wonder why Royal's not around anymore, there's your explanation. Thanks for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up. That helps us out a whole lot. I would love it if you shared this to one of the vacuum groups. That would help us out even more. Really love what we're doing. Check out our Patreon. We do exclusive videos and things on there. And there's a whole bunch of other content that I've made that are just only available to Patreon. Have yourself a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.